Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with half of Akiavel, perhaps the better half, at least the better looking half. Can we go with that? The better looking half is here?
Yeah, I think it's true. For sure.
I totally agree. We're here to talk about you guys' latest record, Victis. I have a lot of questions to go through this with you because there's a lot of things on my mind about this album. But let's start off by asking you guys, how are you guys doing? Is everybody doing okay?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, everything is okay here. It's summer and COVID is more or less under control. So we are more or less coming back to a normal life, even if things are not completely normal. But yeah, things are doing well, and we are looking forward to playing the live shows scheduled in September and October. So yeah, at least we have some positive things to think about, and some live and some opportunities to meet our public. So we are pretty fine. Everything is good.
So the first question I have for you guys is about this record, the theme of this album. What? Because I wouldn't call it necessarily a concept record, but there's definitely a theme with the album. So what do you feel inspired the theme of this record?
Yeah, we like it to call it a concept album.
Okay, I mean, so then let's call it a concept.
I don't know what it is, but I like the word, so it's a concept album. It sounds great. Auré, you want to answer about the theme and the way you wrote the lyrics?
Yes. On this album, we were inspired by serial killers, and Victis is the album of the containment. And during that, I've read and watched a lot of stories about serial killers, and each song recalls a different killer, and there are ends about fears, vices, childhood, and they are also kind of a tribute to the victims and of these monsters.
So when you guys start talking about this, who came up with the idea of this concept for the record? Was it like?
It's Auré.
Was it?
Yeah. She likes. She's very interested in the concept of serial killers. Even if we have to say, of course, that it's not an album which is pro serial killers, of course.
No,
but
no. It's really about the vices and the thing who commit the crime. You know, the thing, the psychological things.
Mm-hmm. The trigger that led them to commit the crimes.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's always an idea at the beginning, and she's responsible for the writing of the lyrics. And as you said, she read and watched a lot of things about serial killers that she already knew, because that's something which interests her. But yeah, it's completely our idea. We are fine with that, and we have constructed all the album about that, and of course the music video we'll probably talk about later. But on that one, that was her idea. On the first one, on 5, maybe we'll also talk about that later. But it was about the 5 wounds of the mind. You know, it's a Canadian theory actually about the. Auré, you might be more precise than I am, but about the 5 wounds that every human is supposed to be victim of, like prison. What, Auré? The other one. I mean, there are 5 wounds. And
trahison, rejet, abandon, humiliation, injustice.
I got the last one. Just I think that's the only thing. My French is really rusty, so you know, I'm not embarrassed of saying that.
Injustice, treason, rejection, rejection,
Yes.
and
Abandon,
Oh, but
abandon,
I got that one too.
abandon, yeah,
humiliation, and injustice.
humiliation. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
then you, so it's what Lise Bourdeau. It's the name of the girl who wrote the psychiatrist or psychologue who wrote about that. Auré? Lise Bourdeau.
Yes, Lise Bourbeau. It's a Canadian therapist.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Of
So
course.
she is weird as all the Canadian, but she wrote very interesting stuff.
This is a really interesting thing because you kind of like the theme or the concept of the second album. It's kind of still somewhat connected to the first record because you could see some correlations between the two. I'm also really into the whole serial killer mindset in terms of how a mind goes down that specific path. So I'm always looking for documentaries and things like that. Like I'm obsessed with it, if you will. Like I just really love to dive into that darker side of humanity. So it's a really interesting concept that you guys brought to the forefront. Did you feel like that concept really merges well with the sound that you guys have, that the band has?
Butch,
Wait,
en fait, Butch, là où on peut, ce que je voudrais que tu traduises, s'il te plaît. En fait, le premier album, ce sera sur les blessures émotionnelles, et sur le deuxième album, on est sur des blessures qui sont physiques. Et donc, il y a un troisième album qui vient un petit peu clôturer tout ça, en gros, pour suivre le concept.
Yeah, just to translate quickly, yeah, the first album is on the emotional wounds. The second album is on physical wounds, and the third album, because there might be one of these days, and quickly, then some might think a third album will close, will end all this trilogy. So we cannot say a bit more about that, but yeah, it's about a trilogy, and there's a logic behind all these themes and concepts. But to answer your question, yeah, and we could ask the question to public. Does it fit? Are the lyrics aligned with the music? And we think, of course, everything is goes well together. I mean, we are pretty convinced that talking about serial killers and the way Auré sings on these songs goes very well, goes along with the music itself, of course.
So when you look at these two records, which one was the most challenging? Is it more challenging to create a debut album, or is it more challenging to create the album that has to follow that debut record?
I imagine all the bands would answer the same. It's always harder to do best than what you've done before. The first album was I wouldn't say randomly made, but I mean we just turned on the amplifier. We just played the music we wanted to create. We wanted to merge all the types of the genres of metal we like. Heavy metal, thrash, hardcore and stuff. So we did, the four of us have very different backgrounds and influences. So we wanted to merge everything, and quite easily came our first album, 5. But then we had to do the second one. It was not really harder, but we wanted to have to go deeper down that route, and we managed it. But we already at a starting point. I mean, we knew we had to move forward. So it was not, I wouldn't say harder, but it was less wild and random or just natural. I mean, we had already, we knew we had to play and to create some Akiavel. We had not that starting point for the first album. And then for the third album, we know that now we have to move forward to remain Akiavel like to do the same music, but we don't want to do to have all the albums sounding the same.
Mhm.
They said that it in a very, very good way. I mean, all AC/DC albums sound the same, but that's why we love them. And I really love AC/DC. But when it comes to Akiavel, we cannot create all the albums the same way. So the third album has to be even more different and still sound like Akiavel.
Yeah, it's not. It's like you have to find a nice balance. You have to keep the sound of the band intact, if you will, in terms of defining who you guys are, but at the same time making it different enough that you could feel the growth that the band has had over the previous records. The first thing that I noticed when I was listening to the album and I was looking at the press release is that the album is a self-release. Now, was this by choice? Like, this album is really good. Did you guys not shop around and see if you could get a label to distribute it for you guys, or from the beginning you're like, no, we want to keep everything in-house and we want to do it ourselves? What was the thought process? Because this album almost feels too good to be just a self-release.
Why? I mean, do we need the help of a record company to do some good?
Well, that's why I'm asking you. I mean, was that the idea? Do you feel like that's perhaps something that it's not really needed for you guys? But when I look at this album, when I look at the quality of the music, I'm surprised that there was no label out there pushing you guys to or maybe there was, maybe there was, and I was just kind of surprised.
No, for the first album, we had a record company, a French record company behind us for 5, so it was released on Mystic Productions. And that was fine, and that was okay. But they never intervened. They never said anything about the music itself. So we have composed, arranged, and recorded everything we wanted. They had absolutely no control whatever on our music. And then we were distributed by Season of Mist worldwide, and this distribution arrangement was for the main part because of, or thanks to, our record company. But then when it came to recording the second album, we realized as you said, we didn't need for the first album the help of anyone in terms of music composing and recording. So we just say to ourselves, why wouldn't we create our own record company? Then we could have a deal of distribution with the distributor and a Season of Mist in this instance for this album, and then that's it. So we don't need the help of anyone to tell us what kind of music we have or we want to play. So it was a choice. We could have tried to reach some other record company or to stay with our first record company, but it was completely our choice. And if I trust what you are saying, it might not have been a bad idea, since the album itself seems not to be too bad for a self-recorded company.
The album and what you guys have done on the album speaks for itself. I mean, I feel like the album is really strong in terms of how it's put together, the construction of the record, the lyrical content, the music behind it, and obviously the vocals. It's an album that doesn't really have soft spots, if you will. It's very consistent. It's very balanced from the beginning all the way to the end. And I feel like perhaps the biggest strength of this record is the record itself. Like, I don't feel like this is an album that has perhaps one element that overshadows everything else, and everything else kind of just follows its lead. So to me, the strength of the album is the album as a whole. But for you guys, you're a little bit more on the inside than I am. What do you see as the main strength of this record?
Difficult to answer. I don't know. Yeah, it's a record itself. I mean, we have never thought about creating or writing a song which would be the main one and the single, and things would follow. I mean, we have several singles, and we love all 10 songs of this album, and we have never had any other idea than having all very consistent and coherent songs. Each song needs to be played live, needs to be loved by us, and needs to be perfect by itself. The album in its entirety has been composed by all the four of us, and the four of us only, and as we said, with no help of third parties, a record company or whatever. And we have a record company, as we said, it's Akia Records now, so it's owned by ourselves, so it's very convenient. We had the help of our sound engineer from Art Studio Music in France, who has recorded the first album. We were very happy of the result and all the good idea was given to us while we were recording. So we have decided to go in that studio again for the second album. So the only, external eye and help we had was from Sébastien Camille, the sound engineer. But yeah, 99% is from our brains, tortured brains.
From your brains and from your brawn. Let's talk a little bit about the vocals. Was there a song on this track, on this album, sorry, that was a little bit more difficult for you to get what you wanted out of yourself, but also to get what you wanted out of the song?
In the right or to sing?
Like vocally, from your performance perspective, in terms of getting what you had in the lyrical content be transmitted now through your voice. Was there a song that was difficult or any challenges throughout this record?
Butch, can you translate, please? Alors, pour expliquer, en fait, parce que là, j'ai bien compris que c'était, est-ce qu'il y a une difficulté au niveau de la voix pour passer sur un morceau, d'une chanson? Honnêtement, j'en vois pas particulièrement. Peut-être aussi, j'ai dû faire une voix un peu plus criarde, un peu plus sorcière sur certains passages, mais c'est sur plusieurs chansons, c'est une modification de voix qui a été fait sur plusieurs passages, on va dire, pour donner un petit côté criard, justement plus froid à l'album, mais qu'en soi, il n'y a pas un morceau qui a été plus challenge qu'un autre.
Yeah, so to translate, she already had no particular difficulties on this or that song. It was okay for her to sing on all 10 songs of the album. But compared to the first one, she had some parts of the songs and that were more sounding like a witch. I don't know if it's clear, more from the throat and less growl, less death metal. So yeah, she wanted to sound a bit different, and it was consistent on the whole album to have this kind of different types of singing, but it was not a particular difficulty. It was just a choice of her to sing like that.
Mm-hmm. And from your side, from the drums perspective, did you have a game plan when you come into this album of how you wanted your drums to sound like on this record?
Not at all. I just wanted to have the
you just wanted to hit them as hard as possible.
Yeah, that's absolutely. No, how do you say that in English? When I play drums, I have only one thing in mind. I want people to be able to keep the rhythm, and I always say that you have to do that with your feet and with your sentiag, you know, as a cowboy, and you need to just have to feel the music and to feel it's good, and you just want to move with the rhythm. So I apply that to death metal. So it's a bit strange, but yeah, no, I don't have any plan, whatever. Just the more groovy and interesting drum parts I can propose on the riffs that are composed by Jay and Chris, but no particular plans. No.
So I have a couple. Yeah, sorry.
I'm not trying to be a drum hero or like some guitar heroes of some kind. No. Just wanted to trying to do some good things to serve the music.
You're just going to let the music do its thing. I have a couple more questions for you guys, and one of them has to do with the vinyls. I know you guys are releasing the vinyl for this album. It's around the corner. Literally, it's around the corner, the release of the vinyls. Was this always part of the plan, or was this kind of driven by the success of the record?
Yeah, it's driven by the success and by the fact that a lot of people have asked us to release the vinyl. So we've done that for the first album as well, in the same time as the second album and some limited edition of the second album. So yeah, people are beginning to receive their order because they ordered it a couple of months ago. And there are a few vinyls remaining, I think, but we have sold most of them very quickly. And no, it was not our first intention. I shouldn't say that, but most of us don't have anything to play the vinyls at home, so we don't have the.
So, maybe now this will change. Maybe now you guys have to buy a vinyl player, and if this vinyl run is being so successful, maybe for Christmas you guys have to do a special edition of the special edition vinyl, and then have another go at it.
We could, but yeah, to say, and it's completely true. I have to buy a vinyl player first, but then yeah, we've seen that it was pretty much appreciated by our fans. So yeah, probably for Christmas it's a pretty good idea. Yeah, we can release something else.
Yeah, it's a special edition of the special edition.
Yeah, that's good. The special edition is limited to 50 vinyls, so it's very small. All of them are signed by ourselves. So if it's a limited edition of a limited edition, what would it be? 10, 5?
No, you do it. You just maybe change the artwork on the album, change the color, add a bonus track. I don't know. You could. You could get really creative. You could get really creative. Do a death metal Christmas song. I don't know. Like I'm full of great ideas.
We have a lot of ideas, as you can see, and we have a lot of cool things to come. So nothing for Christmas.
I'm sure there's a serial killer out there that killed people during Christmas. So you guys could have a song about that, like a special song about. I don't know, some Santa Claus killed some people. I don't know.
Yeah,
on a quand même tourné Frozen Beauty dans la neige, donc c'est un peu.
Yeah. As I said, yeah, we've already shot the first music video of by Victis, Frozen Beauties, in the snow. So it was last January. It was almost a Christmas gift, but yeah, we'll think of something more precise and accurate for Christmas, just for you.
Just for you.
Yes.
I feel special. The last question that I have for you guys is that you guys are riding a very nice wave as far as the band is concerned. The first record was good. This record is even better. The fan base is growing. The quality of this album is undeniable. The quality of what you guys have done with the music videos also undeniable. Like, I mean, I really feel like as a band, you guys are just taking huge steps forward and upwards in order to gain a much larger fan base worldwide, really worldwide. So what do you feel is the next logical, outside of the special edition for Christmas, outside of that, what do you feel is the next logical step for you guys as a band?
touring and playing live shows. I mean, it's weird, but when we released our first album, it was just before the first lockdown, and we had the first tour organized in France and Belgium, and everything was cancelled on the very day of the lockdown in France. So we had never had the slightest opportunity to play live, even our first album. So now we have 2 albums to play live, and things will begin on the 4th of September for us, and we are pretty happy to do that. And so the next step now is to show that we can do very good live shows and in France and of course abroad. We are beginning to be much more known, and our fan base is growing faster in North America than even in France. So probably pretty quickly and as fast as the beginning of 2022, if we are allowed to, we might be coming over to North America. That would be the next big step for us.
I think you guys have to get together with your French compatriots, FNMer, and do like an all French tour of Canada. It would be absolutely amazing to see you guys playing on this side of the pond. I think you guys are super talented. I just hope you remember me when you're as big as Gojira, and you see me on the road, and you don't like pretend that you don't know me when you're as big as Gojira. So
no,
I just
you are
say,
the only one to have shot two reaction videos. So we will remind you.
And I give you the idea for the special edition of the special edition. True. So I mean, like I'm working for free here for you guys.
Yeah, we will remind that for sure.
So when you guys are as big as Gojira and you're winning all sorts of awards, just give me a shout out. Just so you know, like this award is a little bit of it goes to Pedro. You know, so just that's payment enough.
That would be our pleasure, yeah, if we're as big as Gojira, for sure.
Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Once again, congratulations on the record. I think it's a magnificent album. I really hope that things in France change to a more positive outcome so that you guys can play this album live, not just for your own sake, but also for the sake of the fans to be able to watch you perform these incredible songs. Congratulations on the record. Congratulations on everything you guys are doing. It's really fun for me to see the growth and to see that you guys with every single day are taking steps in order to become as big as you deserve to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and a lot of cool stuff to come the next weeks and months. So just stay tuned. We have a lot of surprise.
And I'm going to put on the description of the video a link to Facebook and all of your pages. So if people want to get some of those special edition vinyls, if there's still some available, people can go and pick them up.
That would be cool. Yeah, thank you very much for your help on that.
No problem. My pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.